a notice board, there's a discussion group that is there, that is always permanently active. We review books and then decide whether it's appropriate to continue with it in the light of the Wikipedia's policy and the interests of the information it would serve. So that's one example of it being misused. So I think the concerns are a little greater here because it's an unconventional source of knowledge, right? It's a sort of the fear of the unknown. It's a sort of resistance to change from status quo. As in, we are factoring all these things because this is a very, very new thing that we're trying to introduce, and there is already an established order. So that's one of the challenges that we face.
I think, one of the interesting things about this is that all the questions that come up about oral citations, oh, anyone can do anything. These are the same questions that were asked of Wikipedia in 2001. Oh, anyone can do anything. So the thing is that, with Wikipedia and with traditional sources, we found a way to make it work, right? And so 10 years later, nobody asks those questions anymore because there's evidence that there's a fantastic system that can work. So to displace the sources and to try another set of sources means that, can you shut that door? There's outside noise. So what it means is that it creates the same kinds of anxiety. Ironically, in this case, that anxiety is within the same people who probably had to battle the same questions in relation to what Wikipedia was 10 years ago. Nevertheless, I think that in terms of Manish's questions about, anyone can do anything and how susceptible that might make the information that we take from unconventional sources. I think one very good thing to remember is how much each one of us relies on information that is generated online, purely generated online. Each one of us possibly has had instances of being tricked. There was something that you thought was a good source that wasn't, right? But otherwise, we've worked out a system to understand which Twitter feeds to trust, which blogs we get the right kind of information from as opposed to the other blogs. So if we can work out in our heads as to what we trust and who we trust and why, there should be a way that we can transfer that to Wikipedia.
So I have a question. Is the oral citations project directed specifically towards traditional knowledge as opposed to formal knowledge? So is it focused on traditional knowledge rather than say you can't have an oral citation proving a mathematical equation because I say so, right?
I have one thing to say about that, just that the verifiability not truth pillar of Wikipedia came about in part because I think or Jimmy Wales at least was insistent on that in the early years of Wikipedia, in part because apparently people were producing their own physics experiments. Tim can speak more about that, I think, right? You told me, yeah.
I think that the oral tradition, the oral citation project is not only for traditional knowledge, not only for knowledge that is happened in the villages where nothing is written down. For example, I think 4 years ago there was a plane that crashed in the Hudson River in New York, and people made photos and uploaded it on Wikimedia Commons in a free license. That is an original photo and it is on a free license, and someone said that airplane is crashed, and that's a source that is reliable and it is right. And I think I would disagree with Achai here a little. There are a lot of things that is in Europe, in America, that is not written, and that's also, it's a project that's also very useful for them, right? Because books are written by scholars, and scholars are mostly rich people. And if you look at the books from a few hundred years ago, there's only things about kings and queens, but nothing about the normal people. And now the archaeologists, the historians begin to interest how did people live 500 years ago in a village in Germany or in a village in England. And no one can tell that because there's no documents. But there are still oral documents about how people lived there and so on. So that's also very useful for the European and American countries.
I think it would also help if you looked at unconventional sources, all these sources of knowledge, right, as not alternatives to conventional sources of knowledge, but in addition to conventional sources of knowledge. So what we're trying to do is make the unconventional conventional, change our perceptions of what is reliable, what is not reliable. right? Because currently we have certain perceptions of what is reliable. So we're trying to say that this is not the only thing that can be reliable. These sources can also be reliable in certain contexts, etc.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say that videos as evidence is not banned per se on Wikipedia. And in fact,
no, actually it kind of is at the moment. I don't think
if you talk about, I can positively show you examples of.
It is being used.
Obviously. So you have politicians saying something, and then you have people taking notes of that and saying that. I mean, if you remember, I think I talked to you about this in the past. The founder of the Internet Archive.
Bruce McCabe.
Yeah, so he was actually talking at TED, and he mentioned that the problem with citing news reports, for instance, is that nobody has indexed them. He said only Jon Stewart, for instance, seems to keep a good index of them. So he was actually saying that you can use it, even, and he's a librarian. You can use it, and we do use it. And on Wikipedia, on the English version, especially news reports, you will find that if there's an archive of news reports, unfortunately we don't have a digital archive of news reports in India. We could do fantastic work, especially stating politicians' aims before and after election.
And just to add to things, though, I completely agree with that. It's not something that we'd like to think of just as being traditional. OJ, register. It's not just something that we'd like to think of as being restricted to traditional knowledge alone, but as in a universe of finding different ways to cite.
That Frenchman's theory about science, for instance, where science is developed on links on workers' published work, and the fidelity of those links are high, and it goes on with a long over time. So the fact is that if you are talking about a scientific experiment, would you say, okay, here's this experiment that I'm showing you on this video, and it proves that cold fusion exists?
Can I suggest this in a slightly different way, and then we'll move on to OJ, who has a question. Can I just suggest that, you know, when there is a topic on which there's extensive printed material for whatever reason, whether it's recent or historical, typically I think one has to try really hard to find a reason, a valid reason, why one needs to go outside print to supplement that knowledge. Okay, and I think that that's a good way of thinking about it in terms of how and where you need to go to not a less reliable source, but a different form of citational reference. OJ, sir.
I was trying to understand the point that you're trying to make about the different media and whether that plays a role. Just an example, let's take Paul Krugman. Paul Krugman has won a Nobel Prize writing a book. You're saying you can quote from the book as a source. He writes a blog on the New York Times, which is hosted on the New York Times. So you're saying you can quote from that. Because it's hosted on the New York Times. What if he wrote his own blog? Are you saying you would not be able to quote from him, despite him being the same person? That's the first point. Second, if he tweeted something, are you saying that that would not count as something which is notable? Third, if I invited him to write on my blog, under his finding, are you saying that you're not able to use that, but use the other thing?
Yeah, I think I can take that one. Actually, on the English Wikipedia, it's allowed. It depends on what is the matter that you're trying to support. If you're trying to support the fact that he said that, and he's a notable figure, and you have a respectable website, then it's perfectly fine. So I'm not sure if it's already allowed. I mean, what I'm saying is it's already allowed and it's been there for a while.
Yeah. So if I could just clarify that, and Ting might have more to add to this as well. In my experience, the way it works is that it works on an ad hoc basis. I don't think that there is a policy that says blogs are okay. I think that the policy in practice is that should you be able to establish that whatever source you're using, even if it's online, comes from a reliable base, like the New York Times, let's say, then it's okay. In terms of tweets, for instance, one of the problems of, regardless of whether it's notable or not and whether it's verifiable or not in terms of using as a reference, the other problem with it is that, 3 days later, for somebody who tweets very frequently, it's off their Twitter feed. So, you need to actually find a place where that tweet is archived, or much of social media self-erases. And so regardless of the reliability question, in fact, the foundation is sponsoring a project, a research project with a group called Ushahidi and Swift River right now. Dario and Heather are running this, which is a project to look at how social media entries can be rated and then archived in a way that makes them useful as citations. And also what their value is when it comes to social media beyond the immediate timeline of events. So, you know, there are tweets that are historic. The person who tweeted in Abbottabad that he heard gunfire before anyone knew that Osama was being captured, that was a historic tweet, and so for that tweet to be mentioned, you know, it's entered the news cycle in a different kind of way. In other cases, during the Arab Spring or during the Japanese earthquake, for instance, a lot of social media is of use in the days before comprehensive news reports are created. But it's also an interesting question as to what place they have after you have the comprehensive news reports, right, in the Wikipedia article of the Japanese earthquake. And so I think there are interesting questions like that to think about in terms of the place of all of these things. Maybe Ting can speak to that also, and Manish.
Yeah. Also, and to clarify what Shamal said, right? The blog. So, for instance, if Paul Krugman says a certain thing on his blog, right? One could cite to the one could link to the blog as evidence that Paul Krugman said a certain thing on his blog. Okay, then you link to the blog and you provide that as a reference, right? What it isn't useful for is the veracity of the statement that is made by Paul Krugman. So if Paul Krugman writes a book about concept X, right? Now, in an article on concept X, you would be able to use whatever the book says and as a reliable source. But if Paul Krugman writes a blog on concept X, you'd only be able to use the blog to say that Paul Krugman wrote this on concept X. True. So that's the distinction one has to make. Besides the ad hocism of the process, right? It's not formally accepted. It's normally the exception rather than the rule.
Do you want to add something?
I think that we sometimes make the failure that we think the rules on Wikipedia are something like a law that is set and no one can change that. Actually, that rules are just worked out from the volunteers like you and me. And so I think that is also why it is important to have thinking people to come in and say, hey, we have knowledge that is not written. How do we work with that knowledge? And how can we make that knowledge visible on Wikipedia? And how must we change those laws, those rules, so that they can be accepted, right? And I think that from the start of the Wikipedia, there was a sense of there was one rule, and it is there's no rules on Wikipedia. I don't know if anyone know that there is a rule. There is no rules on Wikipedia. Ignore all rules, right? And what does that say? That doesn't really say that you should vandalize Wikipedia, right? That says you should be safe by applying rules. And if law says, I just disagreed with, if a video says, I just disagreed with Achar, and that video is the proof, then that video is a reliable source.
It's a reliable source for what you said.
Yes.
That is absolutely agree,
Right.
and I think it's already followed.
And if someone else said, I had just published in tweet and said, I had just had a fight with Achar, and that is something.
It's a reliable source for what you said.
Yeah.
But is it a reliable source for a matter of fact? Which is outside of the,
Yeah, sure.
that needs to be questioned.
Right. And so you must also think about the context to use those citations.
Actually, I have a question. Like, is screenshot of an article valid as a reference? Because sometimes the article might have gone offline or it's gone. Is a screenshot?
Wikipedia, you don't need a screenshot. If an article, there are lots of references
No,
that
suppose like a
link-
film. No,
that
suppose
don't
like a
have to
film.
link.
Yeah, a film played at a festival, and that's a reference. That's the only proof that the film played at a festival, and that festival archive is gone. No, so a screenshot of that particular page would it work as a reference?
Normally, what one would use in such cases is something like the web archive or something, like the internet archive, right? They keep links of dead pages and stuff.
There's a problem with even website links. So when you cite a website, apparently the half-life of a website is about 2 years. That's the fact. So,
And the half-life of an Indian website is probably about 2 days or something. No, the Indian newspapers, they just clean their URLs.
So there's so much link out that there was a proposal that all links, external links going out of Wikipedia, featured articles and good articles should get automatically archived on the internet archive. So there are all kinds of
There are a couple of other places that a page that is archived in perpetuity, well, it's not clear. Perpetuity, maybe 10 years, 20 years, I'm not sure. But there are places that you can, if you feel that a URL is going to disappear, you can save that somewhere.
Also, Google has cached versions of pages, like historical cached versions.
It's not reliable.
Yeah. Can you speak a little louder?
And also maybe introduce yourself.
Statistical data which is displayed on various articles in Wikipedia gives at least 20 to 50% of the official data in an organization or any country or any just entity. Which means statistical data which is being in Wikipedia is unreliable.
I don't fully understand your question, but I think that that's slightly variable in the sense that I would imagine that usually the statistical data that I have seen is very precisely indexed to a year or a point. That might not always be the most recent data that's available, and there might be a lag, between what is available, let's say, in the 2011 census and what is available of that data on Wikipedia. But okay, so I think that if you see data that is way off and you know of a better source, we should change it.
Yeah. Also another thing that happens. Yeah. Also another thing that happens, like for example, for something like market shares of internet browsers, for instance, there's an article on Wikipedia, right? What they do there is they take a range, because there are a number of surveys that are conducted to determine this data and a number of different methodologies. So what they do is they usually take the mean or the median, or they put a range. So they say Internet Explorer is from 8 to 13% or something to that effect. So as in one has to take into account multiple sources that might give different figures because of different methodologies, etc.
So we are at 4:15. There's one question left. Is there any? So we should probably bring it to a wrap after that, if that's okay. We can talk outside. All of us are here right through today, tomorrow, and yeah, go ahead.
We were just talking about
Louder.
I am Anshuman.
Yeah.
We were just talking about archiving sites that might get off the internet for whatever reason. Also, we talked about social media and how certain tweets or things like that also might need archiving. But I am not really clear about why that would happen. I mean, take tweets for example. We do have URLs for every single tweet, and even Twitter stays on for long enough. What archiving are you really talking about?
As in, like, I think the situation that Achal were referring to was, for instance, if a user deleted their tweet, or if the account changed or the handle changed or something of that sort, then problems could occur with that. Even as in the permanent link would be useless in such situations, right? So in that case, to try and archive that for posterity, if it's a significant enough link for that.
Okay. Oh, one more question. Yeah. So one last question and then we wrap.